Good day, everyone. My name is Mr. Adenobi. Welcome to Year 9 English class. Today, we'll be looking at phrases. I want to show you a very easy way of identifying different types of phrase. Now, but first, let's look at the word phrase. A phrase is a group of words that has a head word and forms a part of a clause or a sentence. There are three things that are key here. The first one is that a phrase is what? A group of words. The second is that it has a head word. And lastly, it forms a part of a clause or a sentence. Now, there's what we call unit of grammar in English, which the phrase belongs to. Okay? The unit of grammar in English include the sentence, the clause, the phrase, the word, and the morpheme. Okay? At the level of the morpheme and the level of the word, we have just words and no group of words. Okay? But from the level of the phrase, it becomes a group of words. That is why a phrase is defined as a group of words. It has to be more than a word. Okay? All right. In English, we usually say that one or two morphemes make a word, one or two words make a phrase, one or two phrases make a clause, one or two clauses make a sentence. Now, the first thing has been identified, which is the fact that a phrase is a group of words. Okay? The second thing is that it must have a head word. As a matter of fact, the most important part of the phrase is the head word. Now, let's look at this. The structure for the phrase in English is M, H, and Q. M here stands for modifier. H stands for headword, while Q stands for qualifier. It is as simple as this. The headword is the most important part of a phrase that when you remove, the rest might be meaningless. The modifier is a word or a group of words that comes before the head word to tell us more about the head word. While the qualifier is a word or a group of words that comes after the head word and tells us more about the head word. What are we talking about? Let me give you an example. Now let's say the Nigerian tennis player in London. Now, if we look at this phrase, the head word is that particular word that when you remove and read the rest might be meaningless. That word in this phrase is the word player. Because if you remove the word player, what we have is the Nigerian tennis in London, which is not that meaningful. Okay, what are we then talking about? What we are saying is that the player here is the head word. Okay? anything that comes before player becomes the modifier. For example, this is modifier 1, this is modifier 2, this is modifier 3. And anything that comes after becomes qualifier. Okay? The structure, I say it again, the structure of the phrase in English is MHQ. Modifier, headword, and qualifier. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the importance of the headword. Remember, I said it is that part of a phrase that when you remove, the rest might be meaningless. Now, let's look at some other examples. There are some things, I'm going to show you a particular thing here. You see, I want you to note this. The headword again is the most important part of the phrase. That when you remove, the rest might be meaningless. It also means that if the headword, for example, in a phrase, is a noun, it means that phrase is a noun phrase. If the headword is a verb, it means that phrase is a verb phrase. If the headword is an adjective, that phrase becomes an adjective or adjectival phrase. If the headword is an adverb, it becomes what? An adverbial phrase. What are we talking about? Now, at the beginning of this lesson, I told you I'm going to show you a very easy way to identify phrases in English. What I'm saying in essence is that if the headword in a phrase is an adjective, that phrase becomes an adjective phrase. If the headword is a noun, it becomes a noun phrase. And if it's an adverb, it becomes an adverb phrase. If it's a verb, it becomes a verb phrase. Now look at it very well. In the first phrase here, let's call this 1, this 2, and this 3. In the first phrase here, the most important word here is good. Because if you remove good, what you have is so to see, which might not really be meaningful. Okay, so good is the headword in this phrase, and good is an adjective. It means this is an adjective phrase. Okay? The second one, the headword here is man. Okay, let me complete the first one. This will be the modifier, this will be the headword, and this will be the qualifier. To see will be the qualifier. So is modifier. The headword here is man. Man belongs to the category of noun. So it means this is a noun phrase. Number 2 is a noun phrase. Let me write this. Number 2 is a noun phrase. Okay? Okay. Now, must have been told to go. The most important word here is, this is the headword. Here is the headword. This becomes modifier, and this becomes the qualifier. Okay, so the same thing here, this and this, they become modifier 1, modifier 2 modifier 3. That's the head word, and this becomes the qualifier. Okay? One thing you must also remember is the fact that because this, the head word here, is a verb, this becomes a verb phrase. You will agree with me, children, that it is very easy to identify a phrase or the type of phrase in English. All you need to do is to identify the edge word first. Once you identify the edge word, then use the category which the edge word belongs to name the phrase. Okay? So it means if the edge word is an adjective like good, it becomes adjective phrase. If the edge word is man, like as we have here, it becomes a noun phrase. If the edge word is a verb, it becomes a verb phrase. That brings us to the end of this lesson. But there's one thing you must always remember. A phrase is a group of words that has a edge word and forms part of a clause. Now, before I go, I'm going to use one of these to show that a phrase forms a part of a clause. Now, let's remove number 3, for example. We can have a full sentence which says, it is so good to see you today. We have used this phrase to form a part of a sentence. So, we have completed the work. A phrase is a group of words. It has a head word, and it forms part of a clause or sentence. Thank you. I'll be meeting with you very soon again. Thank you for your time.